Just how reasonable is Noah's Ark? I get this question all the time, but you know, I've got to tell you that if you have a view of the Ark as like that Fisher-Price toy that they show of the animals sticking out of this bathtub-shaped boat, you're going to have a pretty faulty image of what the Ark was really like. And if you see the deluge as mere rain, you're going to have a faulty image of what actually happened. Because in Genesis 7:11, it says, "On that day, all the fountains of the great deep burst forth." And if you think of it as the topography of the land as being same as it is today, then again, you're going to have a faulty image of this situation. But I got to tell you, I put in the description section, I put a lot of links to this information that I've gained here and a lot more. And also, I'm going to be doing a lot of reading from my notes because I have a lot of information here and I wanted to get it out and I don't want to miss anything. And I want to make sure I get it correct. But I'll be posting a transcript of my talk in the comments section as well. So let me just get started to get through this because there's a lot of stuff here. Now, just how reasonable is Noah's Ark? Some say the Ark was over 3.5 million cubic feet. But on the lower calculations, it's placed at over 1.5 million cubic feet. And we'll be using that image. It was about 450 feet long. That's about 1.5 football fields long, 75 feet wide, and 45 feet high. That's 3 decks, placing it at about a 4-story building. Now, Doctors Morris and Whitcomb, in their classic book, The Genesis Flood, state that no more than 35,000 individual animals needed to go on the ark. John Woodmorappe, in his book, Noah's Ark, the Feasibility Study, suggests as few as 2,000 animals would have been transported upon the ark. He explains that the word species is not equivalent to created kinds of the Genesis account, and only land-dwelling and those who breathed through their nostrils would have been on the ark. And that means no fish, no insects that breathe through spiracles in along their abdomens, and not nostrils. And you could find this in Genesis 7:22. It is believed that these animals would have been most likely in the family level of the taxa. Not species, but family. But to pad the numbers for error, Woodmorappe uses the figure of 16,000. But let's be generous and add on a reasonable number to include for extinct animals and for the most skeptical. Let's say 50,000 animals, far more than required by both studies of Dr. Morris and Whitcomb and John Woodmorappe, ranging from 16,000 to 35,000. So we will say 50,000 animals. These were probably not the largest and even adult specimens. Better to have younger ones for more room on the ark and for breeding purposes after the flood. Remember, there are really only a few large animals, such as dinosaurs and giraffes and elephants, and So we'll use sheep-sized animals as a comparison and railroad cars. We can note that the average double-deck stock car can accommodate 240 sheep. Thus, 3 trains hauling 69 cars each would have ample space to carry the 50,000 animals, filling only 37% of the ark. This would leave an additional 361 cars, or enough to make 5 trains of 72 cars each to carry all the food and the baggage, plus Noah's family and his family of 8 people. The ark had plenty of space. Now, the Genesis account indicates that God gathered the animals and brought them to Noah. Some have suggested that this may have accounted for the animal migratory instincts. Also, a number of scientists believe that the animals may have gone into a type of dormancy. In nearly all groups of animals, there is at least some indication of latent ability to hibernate. These abilities could have been heightened by floating on water, and a completely foreign sensation to these land animals, or supernaturally intensified during this period. With bodily functions reduced to a minimum, the burden of care would have been greatly decreased. If you don't believe the Bible, or even consider the events like the creation and the flood, then you will probably believe many faulty things of science as they try to come up with explanations without these things. For instance, the age of the earth. One who believes the Bible can see, if God created the plant life, animals, Adam and Eve, fully grown and matured, then why wouldn't he create the earth itself fully grown and mature to sustain them? This would answer the question, the sarcastic question, of why, if the earth is younger than 10,000 years old, why is God trying to fool us into believing that it's much older? He's not trying to fool us. We just are trying to age the earth without considering these things. This creation, creating the earth fully formed and mature, and the cataclysmic flood would give the age of the earth, would seem to age it quite a bit, quite drastically, and give it the appearance of old age. Many people make a common mistake of assuming that the landmass, the topography, was similar to what it is today back then before the flood. They judge things on what they know about our world today and come up with probable faulty conclusions. Similar conclusions have been made that animals must have lived everywhere on the planet at that time as they do today. Remember always, when thinking or talking about the flood of Noah, that mountains such as the Himalayas were not covered by the flood. They were created by it. Also, no boat known to man could have survived this deluge. But not a boat, but an ark made the way God had Noah make this ark could have. Studies have shown this. Now, we read in 2 Peter 3:36. Knowing this first, that there shall come in the last days scoffers, walking after their own lusts, and saying, where is the promise of his coming? For since the fathers fell asleep, all things continue as they were from the beginning of creation. Isn't that what we're saying today? that people are saying that the earth is just the way it was way back then. And yet, the Bible tells us here, as I continue, something quite different. I will continue. For this they willingly are ignorant of, that by the word of God the heavens were of old, and the earth standing out of the water and in the water, whereby the world that then was, being overflowed with water, perished. It died. The world as it was is not the same as it is now. So the earth as it is today cannot ever flood as the old one did. It is impossible. And thus also God has promised that it wouldn't. Now, some ask questions too that we just can't answer. I certainly can't. Like food for animals after leaving the ark. Did Noah have enough food on the ark to feed them until sprouts came up in this would have been, I imagine, pretty fertile soil after such an event? Who knows? How did the animals migrate back to where they were or where they are today, like kangaroos and so forth? Land bridges, like most people think, or God brought them. Since God brought them to Noah, did He disperse them afterwards? We just don't have all these answers. We just don't know everything. But given the answers that we do have, the possibilities that we can assess to this issue, I think we can make a pretty good case for the biblical flood. So please check out the links that I've placed in the section above, in the description section, and see for yourself what we've got, what you can find there. So I hope this solves the problem for many, and it helps somewhat. So thank you again for watching.